Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar. My name is Claire Barton, and I will be your host. This webinar is brought to you by the Chartered Governance Institute of Canada, the only global qualifying organization in Canada where you can become a chartered governance professional. For further information about our programs, webinars, and events, I invite you to visit our website at cgiofcanada.ca. The title of today's webinar is How to Bridge Corporate Strategy Execution Gaps Through Agile Project Management Governance Practices. And our guest speaker is Asif Jasat. Asif has a master's in business entrepreneurship and technology, as well as a Bachelor of Science in Management Studies. He is certified in both project and change management, and he received his accredited Director certification through CGIC. Asif has over 15 years of expertise in corporate strategy, technology, and innovation and tactical business leadership across North America, Latin America, and the Caribbean. We can look forward to a very informative session today, I'm sure. So before we begin the presentation, I'd like to tell everyone that you are muted, but if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat line below. And with that being said, I will now turn everything over to our guest speaker, Asif Jasat.
Thank you for such a wonderful introduction. For a moment, I was wondering if it was someone else who was speaking today, but thank you. Thank you. And welcome to everyone. I know the participants are just coming in, so it's building up. So welcome. Is everybody hearing me? Just give me a mic check. We take that as a yes?
I think
so. Wonderful. So I know we have a diverse group of participants from all over the world, right? And sorry for my bias, but there's a contingent from my country of birth who is joining from Grenada. So welcome to everyone, but a special welcome to the persons from Grenada. And you could always put something in the chat just to let everyone know your residence. So as said in the introduction, today we're going to have a discussion. It's more or less of a chat, right, on bridging success, bridging the gap between corporate strategy execution through agile project management practices. I'm Asif Jasat, and I'm your facilitator for the next 55 minutes or so. As said in the introduction, I specialize in project portfolio management strategy and organizational transformation. I've had the opportunity to work regionally within the Caribbean, Latin America, and North America. Just to set expectation, today is not about tools and techniques, right? It's about understanding the pace of change, right? How organizations are adapting, and the shift in mindset that is happening globally to ensure that value is continually delivered to the various organizations. Right. So I think we'll all agree that pace of change is, sorry, there's someone in the waiting room that we need to accept, or?
I'm letting everyone in for you, Asif. It's okay.
Okay. Right. So the pace of change is quite astronomical. And I think we are all impacted by that in some form or fashion, particularly as it relates to digital adoption and digital transformation. We are either a beneficiary, of it in some form of our lives, right? And the recent experiences with the pandemic has only magnified and accelerated the adoption to change. So I just want to share a short video for us, right? This further help explain that, and then we're going to go into some context, challenges in terms of strategy execution in the boardroom, and then get deeper into some of the changes that is happening in the market in terms of organizations and approaches that have been adopted. We only have 1 hour for this session. So again, this is not about tools and techniques, but just whetting your appetite. And of course, I'm happy to have a further conversation thereafter. So I'll just play the video for about 1 to 2 seconds to make sure it is working, and then we take it from the top. All clear?
Yes, the volume is, oh, I don't see it now.
No, the volume is good, right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in: you. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. With change, it's always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. Cars, cities, ports, farms, even our bodies will be wired with sensors and will talk to each other. These game changers are also combinatorial. They amplify each other, creating a perfect storm of change. Quantum computing fuels big data. The Internet of Things fuels artificial intelligence and deep learning, which fuels robotics. However, anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future, because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future, 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insights and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business model. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformations, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, relate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen. The future gets happened. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
Okay, so hope you found the video to be insightful. Of course, this is a level of disruption every organization is facing globally, right? So how do you ensure you bridge the gap between the speed at which you need to deliver your strategy and conventional project management or strategy execution perspectives, right? Of course, again, just to set further context, right? So leaders are challenged to reimagine their organization and to look into the future, right? Through these unprecedented times, as demonstrated in the video. These are some top strategic trends in the market, right? As research completed by the Gardner Research Institute, right? One is on the people side, and the video was very explicit on the innovation that is happening on people on the people end of it. But yet again, they remain the most precious assets in any organization, right? Our people centricity team focuses on the people behavior, right? So irrespective of the technology adoption, the speed at which change is happening, the key drivers of change, right, are the people. Yes, we have to keep an eye on the digitization and all the other innovation that is happening, but people centricity is key in the major strategic trends that are happening throughout the market globally. So specifically, people behavior, expanding your product to include your experience, right? At the end of it is the people who are giving the experience. Privacy and enhancing the computation. It was mentioned in the video, not to be repetitive on that matter, right? Location independence, right? We have the pandemic has created a world of opportunities for independence, right? New ways of working, new ways of working globally. It has opened up a new consumer base, right? So location independence, the shift in technology is facilitating wider, broadening the economic space in which we operate, but also there are threats of cybersecurity and other aspects of threats that risk exposure that it brings to any organization. So gone are the days where you can say you are in a small island state or large island economy or multi-billion population. Technology has more or less transcended across all those challenges, and we are truly operating in a global environment. So that really brings us to the third point in terms of building resiliency in delivery. So it's not about bouncing back, right? The appetite is no longer for bouncing back, but how can you build resilient, sustainable organizations that are nimble and agile to respond to the business environment that is so dynamic and ever changing. So the dynamism in our strategy execution has to be continual, right? And again, strategic planning and strategy execution again have shifted from the traditional 5-year planning horizon, right, to more shorter term to ensure that you continually respond to consumer needs and changing market conditions. So again, the theme here is resiliency in delivery and some of the automation and AI aspects that is also driving that. Just continuing on the theme of challenges as it relates to strategy execution, irrespective of the plethora of technology adoption. We indicated that people are still the key driver. Strategy execution still faces the common business value versus risk, right? In the rapidly changing market conditions, consumer needs and conditions are changing on a day-by-day basis, right? This is impacted by the disruption in technology. Globalization has increased competition, right? And resource constraints and budgets are ever evolving. We are always being challenged to do more with less, right? Most organizations continue to operate in complex structures, right? And processes, and that in itself is becoming a hindrance to the speed at which they are able to deliver their strategy at various levels in the organizations. Naturally, companies which with global relationships, they are refocusing their business operating model through adoption of technology, creating centers of excellence, centers of scale in different parts of the world where there are cheaper labor, and really unlocking through much more value for both the consumer and the organization, both by way of revenue growth and customer experience. And that's where the agility and cost reduction strategies really come into play. But on your right side, these are common risks. Every organization continually has to balance off as the scale suggests. And again, this is consistent with the Gardner Research Institute body of knowledge that in terms of existing trends on strategy. So what these trends have really resulted into, it has challenged every organization to really, have a mindset shift or a reset, right? Business environment is again characterized by rapid changes. We saw illustration of the technology and advancements, intense competition, based on where you are, your location, right? So while strategies are carefully crafted in a boardroom, the real test really lies in the delivery, right? And organizations face numerous challenges in executing their strategies effectively. So while the strategies may be carefully crafted, as mentioned earlier, right? Conventional project management practices have also shifted, right? And agile approaches are now playing a critical role in ensuring that business value is unlocked, right? And benefits realization is accelerated to ensure that the sustainability of the organization and value is created as speedily as possible. So what that has done, as depicted in the picture to your right, in some of that mindset shift, organizations have really refocused their ways of working, right? And their structures, where you move from the conventional profit and loss approach to focusing more on the purpose of the organization, right? We saw earlier in terms of resiliency, sustainability, right? And that has also challenged executives and decision makers to review the agility of structures, right? Working in the hierarchical structure to more a network environment, right? Working, unlocking a global talents, right, in different parts of the world to continually create value and deliver on your strategic imperatives. The bottom half of it, I will not go into depth there, but kind of self-explanatory and from the planning perspective, where the people aspect, rather than command and control leadership, it's more focused on empowering, right, and challenging or people to be more creative, right, and moving towards experimentation, right, and innovation, and unlocking business value. I would focus on unlocking business value. So the evolution has really resulted in terms of project management moving from just task-oriented approach, where you focus on the triple constraint of scope, cost, and time, right? To, from the outputs to the outcomes, right? And what are the measurable outcomes? So yes, the artifacts of project management and the governance still exist, right? But how do you ensure that the strategy and the project in your strategies, right, are delivering the level of outcomes that you intend to achieve? And these are just some of the examples there for illustration purposes. So, you may have an objective to renovate your office, right? But that's an output, right? But what you're really trying to achieve is a space where your employees can be more productive, right? Greater collaboration, right? And ensuring there's more efficiency and engagement in your organization. So yes, the hard output, which is the physical structure, right, is important, but the outcome that we are trying to achieve are more measurable and geared towards driving greater organizational success. So as I said at the top of the session, today is not about tools and techniques, right? And those still have its place, but focusing more on trends and the mindset shift that has happened globally. So similar to the organizational strategy aspect of it, and there has been a mindset shift, right? From moving from profit to purpose, command and control to more empowerment, right? And working in a collaborative environment. There's also been a mindset shift in the project management field, right? And while they were always trusted business partners, they are now drivers of transformation, right? So project managers are now they are driving revolutionary change, right? And the skill set now demand much more knowledge, aligning to different aspects of the organization, and ensuring that the strategy is consistently at the forefront to deliver outcomes as presented on the other slide. So what that has called for, it has called for a revisiting or relooking of the approaches to the conventional life cycle of project management, and looking at it more from an enterprise strategic business perspective, and how can you ensure value is continually unlocked. So that's we're going to speak a little bit more on agile and high project management practices, but just to solidify and reinforce the drivers of this change that has happened. Excuse me. All right. With the continued globalization, right, and the velocity of emerging technology, right, and these three drivers has really, come to the forefront. Again, introducing new challenges, yes, new opportunities, but more complexities as well, right? Because organizations again are faced with a rapid speed to remain relevant and constant in the market space, right? So team diversity, economy of scale, ensuring that are factors that have made it make it increasingly difficult to maximize value. So the next generation of skill set that is required to deliver your strategy is something that one has to constantly look at the organization. Yes, you have a tighter focus on budget, scarcer resources, shorter timelines. But while applying the traditional project management practices, one also has to be focused on how nimble you can be in terms of constantly delivering the outcome. So that really leads us to capability, right? Just making sure it's not been a distraction. The capabilities that are required. Now, digital dexterity is a sexy word, right? But what does it really mean, right? Really the desire and ability of employees, one, to embrace emerging technology, and then to ensure that they have sufficient capability and awareness to bring the desired outcome, right? So it's both on the attitude side as well as the aptitude and skill set side, right? So digital dexterity, upskilling, cross-skilling on some of these trends, be it on the technical side, but more importantly, the business skills, right? Understanding the different aspects of your business, right? Data-driven decision-making, end-to-end project process improvements, right? The commercialization. Again, persons are being challenged to upskill and cross-skill in these areas. So that has really given birth or emergence, right, to I would say, new ways of working, right? And it's really a mindset shift than tools and techniques. We are accustomed to the waterfall sequential approach, right? And now what we have seen through studies and successes in delivery is how can organizations be agile? Sorry. So let's learn a little bit about agility and how we are putting things together. You may not grasp everything today, right? We may not get all the great answers that we are looking for today, but that's okay, right? Agility does create an opportunity for the future. So maybe in the chat, I can just pause for a moment and just see if there are any organizations or persons within the organization who are familiar with the whole principle of agile project management practices and how they have deployed it in their organization to unlock business value. So I'll just look at the chat quickly.
Any thoughts for the chat? Or if anyone would like to speak out and mention? nothing.
Right. Paul is making such a fantastic point, right? Growth mindset, such as critical thinking for individuals. Yeah.
Hello, Asif. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah,
Oh,
I can't answer the question that you've raised for the chat personally about how organizations have used it for project management, but I think so many of the points that you've made here really resonated with me, because I think it's about the human aspect of it, that how we as individuals embrace the technology and the rapid technological change. So that's a sort of group level, an organizational level, but I think it's also at the individual level. And for me, you know, it's so much about evolving and adapting and being agile, as you rightly said, and I love the fact that you pointed to the growth mindset, because that is so important, that we have to be lifelong learners now, because if we're not, then we fall behind, and AI and technology will overtake us and maybe take away our jobs as well. So I think there's so many factors that you've touched upon there. So yeah.
Thank you, Paul. And Paul is also a corporate governance expert, right, and financial expert within the field itself. So Paul is very versed on strategy execution. Likewise, thank you, Paul. William, I see that you're also making a couple solid points there. I just want to share it with the class.
Good morning. I'm William, and I guess I am on the con side of things. Like, I can sense that, of course, as technology and how things are done are evolving, of course, things will inevitably change and be automated and be interconnected and so on. However, just looking at the landscape of how things evolve, it seems that there will inevitably be a lot of people who will be substituted, and they're fearful of that substitution. And not everybody is capable or willing to adapt to these changes. They will eventually be left behind. And I'm fear for the social unrest, especially for democracy, because they also got to vote. They also will, so they might do things to stop these evolutions, and with the social media and all those things, they will become very vocal, and they can organize themselves that way to you know, they got to fight back, because you're talking about eventually substituting them. It's about their survival. So I just want to point that out. I mean, it's fine and dandy to talk about all these things being inevitable and, oh, you got to change and etc. But what about those that we left behind? We, you know, just pointing it out. I just thought. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, William. Of course, you know, Paul brought it from the corporate side. You know, William is looking from a different side, from the political side, right? So again, it's important to look at it from different angles and perspective. And again, the approach, methodologies, messaging is applicable or is transversal across different fields, right? So we do have a few executives in the call as well. The CEO of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission is also on the call. So, you know, I'm sure he might be able to say a few words a bit later on. So in terms of agility, right? So what are we really talking about? And I think the two persons who have just spoken made reference to some aspect of it, right? So we are moving away from, we spoke about the mindset shift earlier, right? To be, you know, less visible, right? But more powerful, right? And how Paul mentioned creating that learning organization, right? How do we embrace change and adjust our plans accordingly, right? And this is what strategy execution is calling for, right? I'm sure in the first quarter of 2020, many organizations may have articulated wonderful strategic plans to execute, right? But within the first quarter of the year, those plans became irrelevant, quite frankly, right? And we had to repurpose, refocus, adapt, and be agile. And we saw an unprecedented amount of adoption of technology in the way of doing work, in the way of doing education, in the way of transacting business, you name it, right? You know, our engagement with technology was non-negotiable, right? So continue to assess and prioritize project requirements based on continual business need, right? So moving towards that learning organization. The whole issue of iteration, right? And doing things through incremental approaches. How can you continually focus on the needs of the organization, the outcome that we are trying to achieve, right? And break projects into smaller bites, right? Into something that are more manageable phases and going through different iterations, right? For again ensuring what the outcomes we are trying to achieve. Governance practices are also evolving, whereas you might have strategy execution or review meetings once a quarter. They probably have happening now twice a quarter, or even monthly updates to ensure you keep a razor focus approach on the outcome and the target, and any adjustments in scope, any adjustments in approaches, resources, both in terms of people and financial. Executives are able to intervene and make decisions on a more rapid basis, right? And again, we are not seeing that only from a corporate perspective. We are seeing it from a national perspective as well, right? Within the energy space, for example, right? Companies are countries are transitioning from the traditional thermal generation approach to being fully renewable, right? And that in itself is a shift in mindset, and which requires a high level of agility, both in thought and again speed to market. Proven technology out there, right? And how can you ensure that it is readily adopted? To one, maybe bring reliability, and then two, how can you ultimately decrease cost of energy? We are seeing it happening in North America, and in different parts of Europe, and in Australia, New Zealand, etc. Right? So cross-functional collaboration across different streams, ensuring there's strong communication. And communication does not mean only internally here within the organization, but engaging different stakeholders. It could be financial institutions, regulatory organizations, any other supporting organizations to ensure there's interconnection to working towards common purpose. So that ease of adoption is becoming seamless. Again, this is not about tools and techniques, but really understanding the shift in mindsets and how persons are now, how organizations are now upskilling their employees, right? In terms of more focus on mindset shift, values, principles, practices, and then tools and processes, right? So this is how we are moving, how organizations have moved. We are accustomed to the conventional sequential approaches to planning, all right? So again, nothing new here in terms of the audience, but more on the right. This is what we just spoke about, the agile perspective. How can you, and look at things in iterative, incremental way, ensuring there's flexibility and adaptability to change, right? Technology field has readily adopted this approach. It is tested and it is delivering tremendous results, and it's now being adopted across all streams in different parts of the world. So let's go deeper in terms of what this really means, in terms of moving away from tools and techniques, yes, to focus more on mindsets and mindset shift. Let me just check the chat. Yes, Norman, unfortunately, no, the slides will not be available for copyright purposes and how CGIC distributes the information. But I believe the recording will be available on the portal after the session as well. So while there's value on items on your right, we value through agile approaches item more on the left, right? So if we take it line by line and look at the benefits of it, right? One, individuals and interaction over processes and tools, right? At the beginning, we set the context of Yes, there's rapid adoption of technology, innovation. At the end of it is the people assets that is driving that innovation, that collaboration, right? So how do you ensure your strategy, your project gets the visibility and transparency, right? Yes, on accountability through regular reporting, and ensuring that the accountability is there back and forth, right? To make sure that the outcomes are constantly measured and delivered on. Improved risk management, right? Agile practices, identifies that, risk is looked at continually throughout the project lifecycle and not at different intervals, right? Or at the beginning or end of the project. So rather than looking at just, comprehensive documentation from the beginning or the middle or at the end, right? How do you ensure that your product, the outcome that you want to deliver, is geared towards delivering solving problems within the organization, right? Contract negotiation, is now become secondary. Yes, you need certain safeguards in place, but how can you have more collaboration with stakeholders, with customers, to ensure again that the value is extracted? And you're also seeing that governance are being set up through different entities, right? Be it from a government standpoint, be it from a corporate standpoint, where you are now having vendors becoming part of organization, right? So IBM, for instance, are now becoming part of the multinational organization, internal ways of working, because they are now trusted partners, right? To unlock business value. So customer collaboration here is not only in terms of the end customer, but different stakeholders that are in the value chain, right? Because ultimately, what we want is faster delivery, right? Faster time to market, not because the organization would like to do so, it's because the market demands that, right? The consumers are demand that. So whereas following a traditional project management plan of timelines, start dates, end dates, right? The focus is now responding to change, right? How quickly organizations, governments, NGOs, and so forth are able to respond to change to meet the needs of the consumer. And listening here is critical. Listening helps with the iterative, continual improvement components of it. So really what we are building is ammunition, right? What you are building is ammunition. So while the car is there, the body of the car is there to take you from point A to point B, what really helps you win the race is the capacity of the engine, right? So again, I just want to leave you with that in mind on this slide as a key takeaway. All right, so Paul is asking, do you think that leadership companies generally is encouraging this autonomy and creativity? Very good. Maybe there are a couple of executives on the call. I can encourage them to just chime in on this point. Leaders on the call. I don't want to pick on anyone, but any leaders or executives on the call want to chime in on this point that Paul is making?
Just to highlight, perhaps provide Asif a little bit more context behind that question stroke comment. I think it's the fact that, so what you're saying is so excellent in terms of like giving that authority to employees to be more creative and innovative. But of course, that does depend on a degree of, shall we say, trust in our employees and giving them that license to be creative and to solve their own issues. And I think that, that requires a certain culture and a style of leadership that needs to be more collaborative and perhaps trusting as well of our employees. And certainly from my experience, when I've looked at, talked to senior leaders, there's still an element of not command and control, but there's still that very tight sort of leadership, which can stifle creativity, and that's a that's a concern. So I'm very interested to sort of hear what others think about that.
Yeah, and perform point, Paul, I think what the research and also observation is suggesting is that, yes, culture is a key driving point, right? But ways of working now are transcending across cultures, right? And operating models are being shifted from being in a single market space, right, geographically, to having teams work across networks, right? Be it in the financial sector, be it in the FMCG sector, you are headquartered, or you have teams that collaborate with teams in India virtually, right? Be it in Arlington, or Australia, etc. So these global networks, right, are helping bridge that trust and leadership having more confidence in the approach. Cost is a key driver, right here, right, in terms of having that network approach, where organizations are shifting, as I mentioned earlier, some of the back-end processes or operations to less cost or more cost-effective labor markets, be it Mexico, be it the Philippines. So I think, yes, there is a level of trust gap, but I think it's becoming smaller and smaller and smaller, with the focus more on outcomes, be it organic growth or inorganic growth. Okay. Anyone who wants to add? Is there a hand up? Okay. All right. Very well. So there are quite a few activities happening in the chat. I'm just being mindful of the time as well, and maybe we can come back to the chat in a moment. But being constantly conscious of what is happening in the market, right, and what AI is also doing, right, in terms of transforming project management practices and supporting organizations, to deliver its strategy, right? How organizations are becoming much more nimble, right, by automating routine tasks, be it from an analytics perspective, which provide valuable insights, improving communication and collaboration, and how do you make sure that we don't burn the candle on both ends, right? And AI is supporting that, in that processes, ways of working is becoming a much more nimble and helping to bring agility, efficiency, and speed to delivery, right? And project management, strategy execution, and project management is also a beneficiary of AI trends in the market. So ultimately, when they put things together, we're driving change. You're driving change in the organization, right? And success cannot be one-legged. Leadership strategy is key, right? Yes, your project execution is fundamental, right? But change, how do you ensure the people side is taken care of, right? And that three-dimensional approach is what organizations are adapting now, right, in a more conscious way. The leadership is being challenged day in, day out, right, to continually look at themselves, right, how they are creating value for their employees, and then how there's a multiplier effect in terms of the employees creating value for the organization. So again, as part of the ensuring that there's strong strategy execution within the boardroom, right, change management is now pivotal, right? And change management, not only the context of communication or tools and techniques, but in terms of upskilling, having the right people on board, right? And the ProSci approach really gives more details on that. So I mean, when you put it all together, right, leadership is at the focus, right? Leadership is at the focus in terms of two areas. How do you build a more resilient and adaptable organization? right? That is there to recover in a more faster way from adversity, crisis, and setback, building resiliency. That was one of the key messages earlier, and the whole issue of adaptability, right? Ability to adjust, to effectively weather the conditions and the economic situation at that point in time. So leadership here, and the order of the day is now from a servant leadership perspective, right? More and more executives are now challenged to move away from that command and control, the traditional leadership approach, right, to that empowerment, right? Creating trust, right? Humility, authenticity, and really allowing persons to express themselves to deliver on organizational success, right? So the new generation of employees, right? Certainly they are not adaptable to command and control, right? They want autonomy. They are working in that agile environment, in that hybrid or matrix organization, and they want flexibility to support the business outcomes, right? So I'll pause here, just invite any questions or comments for the next few minutes. So essentially, this is the content I wanted to share today. Enabling boardroom success by bridging the gap between strategy, execution, and agile project management practices. Again, this was not meant to be tools and techniques, but looking at more industry trends, both from the strategy side as well as the evolving project management governance practices side as well, and what organizations or how organizations are getting or repurposing themselves to deliver with much more speed to the consumer. So I'll thank you, and I'll take any questions or comments on this side.
Any questions at all, or you would like, you can put them in the chat or just go ahead and speak out.
Yes, please do. Maybe I could just address some of the points in the chat that I missed earlier, right? Peter is saying it may be necessary to provide outer boundaries within which creativity and innovation can take place based on risk and appetite. Peter, you want to expand on that a bit for everyone? If you're still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. Yeah, no, it's just that you can't have, because of some of the points you raised, which is you don't have unlimited resources. You have and you also need policy and procedure sometimes to guide behavior. You can't just have a carte blanche, unless you're in a type of business where you can allow that level of creativity and innovation. Sometimes safety and being very risk conscious is important in some types of business. So you kind of need to provide guidelines. You want persons to be creative and you want to create that innovation space, but you want to do it safely and within risk parameters.
Absolutely. I mean, the industry in which you operate in will drive those parameters, right? So again, the trust is, how do you create that safe space where people can have some level of innovation and creativity? But again, your industry which you operate in will really drive and dictate that. Would lack of comprehensive documentation become an accounting nightmare? Well, I think the field of accounting is ever so evolving, right? Where we are continually recording less information because of technology adoption, right? Consolidation is now happening on a faster basis through automation, right? And there are stronger linkages of information between financial institution and regulatory authorities, right? So there's no need to wait on the third or fourth week of every month to receive a consolidated report. This information is now available on the go, live data as it happens, right? So maybe Graves, you want to probably expand on your comments a bit, but again, based on the environment in which we are with, we may be leading or lagging in technology adoption. And that may require, yes, the documentation may still be there based on where you are in the life cycle of adoption of technology in your strategy. Graves, if you're there, you could. Oh, speaker is problematic. Are companies geared up for embracing AI? I think we're all talking about it, and companies are not. I don't think there's a choice now, but to adopt it, and it is being adopted, right? We saw ChatGPT and the havoc it had created in organizations, and what organizations did was model similar technologies, right, inwardly to help them, right, to do basic. Initially, it was basic emailing, letter writing, etc. But marketing campaigns, right, are now being generated through AI, right? And people intervention is becoming less and less. The key thing with AI, right, is that, again, from the people side, you must be experts at understanding the algorithm and how it works. And writing the prompts, right, is key to getting the output and the outcome that you are desirous of. So I think we have to be careful of sometimes, persons make broad statements that AI will reduce X amount of jobs. Yes, it will create efficiency. There's no doubt about that, right? But at the end of the day, there's a skill set that is required to writing the prompts to get the outcome that you need. And I think that's where the opportunity now lies in terms of upskilling. Okay, is 1:52. I probably will pause here. If there aren't any comments or questions, and thank everyone for your wonderful participation.
We have one question.
Sure.
Olufemi has his hand up. Did you have a question?
Yes, I do. I just quickly want to thank the presenter for this amazing presentation and then all the comments so far, as it relates to this webinar. I would say very quick one, which will be that corporate strategy execution at the moment now is kind of being streamlined a little bit. In those days, you have like 5 years plan. Now it's about 3 years. Even the 3 years plan that most corporations have now are also being broken into like milestone to look at it maybe in 3 months time, in 6 months time, because of so many that has been automated, a lot of advances in the market, and then the organization are seeing the need to make sure that they are trying as much as possible to keep up to date. Now my question will be, even among the advanced tech industries, there seems not to be more of open source. A lot of organizations, especially to your point earlier on AI, among the developer, the designers, there seems to be a lot of closed source, and open source should be the order of the day. Even the open AI itself, who is promoting ChatGPT, still have most of its technology not been open sourced for everyone to see the need to kind of adapt it and modify it to their own customization. And my question will now be, how long do you think this can go? Because it seems as if the profit seems to be more of the driving force, even though organizations are seeing the need to move from profit to purpose, or profit to planet, or from profit to people. But many times it just sits there on paper. They seems not to be, really practicing what ought to be practiced. And profit seems to be the driving force. We all know that even the OpenAI was started as a non-profit, have a division for profit to raise capital to be able to drive the AI forces. Once have Elon Musk on his board, but because of different disagreements, he left. And yet today we still see that even the board of OpenAI are still having chaotic moments and a lot of overhauling. And even as that yesterday, the co-founder of the same OpenAI has to resign and leave the organization. So I mean, how long are we going to begin to continue to see even leadership tussle, leadership issues, even in a very fast-growing environment? And these are still the developers. We've not even started talking about the users who are the organization. So I'm just wondering, at what point do you, in your own opinion, will see all these changes that we dearly needed in the leadership, of the tech, sector, and then cutting across the users of these AI models? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Very deep question, and I guess there's no direct answer to that because the people are involved, right? But I just want to draw your attention back to the people centricity side, right? And building resilient and sustainable organization. And I responded to you by saying that you recall the days of BlackBerry research in motion. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, and they had the patent on receiving live emails, right? BlackBerry.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what has become of them now?
Yeah, they fizzle away. That happens. Yeah.
Yes. So I guess it's a life cycle of what is happening right now. They will remain relevant. Maybe not what happened to BlackBerry. I'm just using that as an extreme example, right? But I'm sure as the churns turn over the next few weeks and months, there will be some settling of that mindset shift and stabilizing, and really democratizing the whole AI aspect, as you said, outsourcing. Yeah.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay, so that's part of the evolution. That's part of the evolution. Great. So thank you very much. Thank you for your wonderful participation and engagement, right? In preparation for these sessions, it's always challenging to, have a bridge between content and engagement, right? But again, the theme today was bridging the gap between strategy execution through agile project management practices. And you are certainly that bridge today in helping to put the content and the engagement together. So thank you. And until next time, I say goodbye. And of course, if you wish to chat or interested in having a further engagement on this topic or strategy, execution, project management, I'm available by email, jasat@gmail.com, or I'm available on LinkedIn. Please drop me a note and we can have another round of engagement. Thank you all for joining. I think we had a very wonderful participation and subscription was excellent, and joining and thank you for joining.
Thank you, Asif. Thank you
bye.
very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. No, bye.